Hi there, guys. I wanted to come in here this morning um, and make this video something that's really been on my heart. Um, I gotta go to work today, so I usually don't really do videos on days I have to go to work, but this video was just so on me all morning. And so I believe in following the spirit. I believe in following um, my intuition, and it needs to be said. And so um, I want to talk about this. I don't even know where the thoughts first came from, but um, somewhere along the way this morning, I started thinking about um, the color purple movie. Now, if anybody has not seen the color purple in all these years, spoiler alert, because I'm going to talk about it. Uh, Click off, watch the movie, come back, I guess. But I believe most people have probably already seen this movie. So I want to talk about, though, the men, because a lot of this stuff, it's on my mind in so many different ways. I have so many, I have to write down my ideas and my show topics and things like that because they come to me so you know um, so often, and sometimes I want to kind of sit and put it together and everything like that. So I didn't really get to do that with this one because it was just on me, so, and the need to go ahead and tell and get it out, and so that's what I'm here doing. So I want to talk about the males in The Color Purple. I want to talk about the three generations of basically degenerate, abusive, hateful, mean men. Um, I wanted to, I wanted to, I was really talking about, which I don't even know if they even said his name, but um, Mister's dad, Mister, of course, and then Papa. But as I was as I was getting that together, I started also thinking about the dad because I'm like, well, the abuse of Celie started really with her dad. And so uh, I mean, we got we got to start with her dad. We got to start with an abusive home setting and him trying to cover up his sin by um, taking her children and selling her off. Well, yeah, basically selling her off. Now, this man was a minister, if I'm not mistaken. I think, well, I don't know if her dad was a minister or not. I really can't remember. Maybe he wasn't. I think I might be getting the other lady's dad, who was a minister. I may be getting that mixed up with Celie's dad. And I know that the people that he sold them to was a minister and wife, I believe. So, but her dad, at the end of the day, was a horrible, despicable, degenerate man, child molester, committed incest with his daughter. Not only did he commit incest with his young daughter, He also, um, he was abusive. Then he went off and, like we say, sold her the children that he made. He tried to hide what he did ultimately. And so Seeley's foundation was just jacked up from the start, from dealing with that. Just that alone, dealing with that with Seeley would have been, um, that's enough right there to cause trauma for the rest of her life. Just that, just dealing with her dad and all that happened, because it wasn't something that happened once. I mean, she literally got pregnant twice by her dad. So the thing I want to point out with that, despite everything else despicable about that, is the fact that these were young children. This Celie was a young girl, and we don't really know how long he had been molesting her and hurting her. He could have been doing this since she was 3, 4, 5 years old. We don't know. And the evidence finally came out with her getting pregnant. So at the end of the day, it could have been that he had been messing with her, but now that she is becoming a woman and having a menstrual cycle, well, you can't hide it no more. So that's a very big correlation of a lot of abuse that goes on in the Black community, in families. Um, a lot of times it's hush hush, a lot of times it's hidden, a lot of times it's, we don't talk about that kind of stuff, you know, mothers, grandmothers, and so forth, turning away, turning a blind eye, still letting child molesters hang around the children and the families and things like that. And so, um, anyway, I don't want to go on too long with that. So, next we have, I want to start with with the dad, with Mister's dad. Now, Mister's dad, um, he was a angry, bitter man who seemed to not like women, who believed in abusing women, who more than likely abused Mister's mother. He more than likely abused her because he taught his son how to be abusive. So, I mean, um, and I put that correlation because that's really what this video is about, is looking at the stuff that I see in that movie, or that I saw, or that I'm remembering in that movie, to a lot of the stuff that's going on today, looking at the big picture of that. And what I see with the dad is him teaching his son how to be a horrible person, trying to teach him how to be a man, trying to teach him how to be, um, the man of his house, the head of his house. And this is the same thing that we see right now going on. We see, um, older men right now on podcasts. We hear them all over social media trying to teach younger men, and teenage boys, and really anybody that'll listen, but trying to teach younger men how to be men, how to be alpha males, how to lead in their home, how to be, the big dog. Um, so that's the same type thing. Learning destructive, hateful, mean, wicked behavior on how to be that's what a real man is, to his son. And like I say, we see that going on through social media right now. That's mainly what's happening. Um, Even while he was a grown man with Celie, with him already married to Celie and so forth, he would come over there basically and run his son and run his son's household. Because if we really look at Mister was a pretty weak man. He wouldn't stand up to his dad. He was afraid of his dad, if you ask me, you know, and he would tell him, boy, called him boy all the time, belittled him. That don't make you feel like no man. Uh, Belittled him, called him boy. Boy, you need to do this, and and I smacked that girl, and I hit her upside her head. I mean, these are the type of things that he would teach him, and you need to learn how to run your household. Da, 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 da. So that type of belittling from his dad, from his elder, caused him to feel like he wasn't being man enough, especially around his dad, and that he needed to continue to do more to be a man and show his dad that he could run his house by running over his woman and controlling his woman. Now, here's a funny thing I noticed about that movie. He didn't control them goddamn kids. And y'all forgive me for cursing. I'm sorry. He didn't control them kids. Matter of fact, I didn't never really even see him really interact with those kids, really. He got silly for that. Um, Harpo, you know. But other than that, he didn't really look after them kids, or you didn't see him playing with the kids. He was just making them. Once again, that's a big correlation of what we see out here. I'm trying to paint a picture. um and the woman, once again, the woman was beneath him. She was to be controlled with an iron fist. She was to be controlled with fear. Oh, she was so afraid of him. Celie was so afraid of him. I know it's just a movie, but the little look on her little face, the way she would jump when he said stuff, or just unprovoked, just unexpected. He would just come and smack the hell out of her. Putting his fist up, she jumped. She was so afraid. Always belittling her. Always, I mean, he let it be known that he thought she was ugly. He let it be known that, what did he say? You black, you skinny, you ugly. Now, this was when she was an adult, but don't think that he wasn't telling her that and showing her that while she was a little girl, while she was young. Let her know he really didn't want her. Brought a whole woman there in her face. Live with him. Look at the disrespect in that. What that showed Celie was, this is my house. This ain't your house. This is my house. I do what I want to do in my house. And so many times, once again, let's look at the correlation. It's the same correlation for many of these men out here who are talking about paying all the bills. Ladies, you got to stop letting that part of the scenario intrigue you. him paying all the bills is not the ideal of how it sounds. Let me paint another picture. A lot of times you hear about these guys keep talking about they want a traditional woman. They want a traditional woman. Traditional woman in so many ways means at the end of the day, she's staying at home. She's taking care of the kids. She's taking care of the house. She's taking care of her husband, getting pregnant. He's paying the bills. Um, she really traditionally, you wouldn't have no bank account. You wouldn't have any of your own money. Like, cause first of all, you ain't gonna work. And basically you are pretty tied to the house. You probably don't have a car or real access to a car, um, to move around, to do things, to go places. And if you're there at home, cooking, cleaning, washing, taking care of little children, the baby, and like, where you finna go anyway? Like, you really don't have time. And you got to ask him for permission because once again, he got the money, he got the resources, he is your head. So you have to get permission from him. Can I go to my friend house? Can I go to my sister house? Oh, we're gonna have a little get together. And more than likely, he don't want you to do that. He don't like your friends. He don't like probably most of your family. And at the end of the day, what his real goal is to isolate you and get you by yourself and get you alone where you don't have any resources, you don't have anybody to call, you don't have anybody go to for help or anything like that. That's the ultimate goal of an abuser and of a man who means you no good. So this is what they keep asking for, a traditional wife. And the way the media uh paints the narrative, the way the media looks at it, and like I say, paints the picture, is that when you hear that traditional wife and blah blah blah, and I'm gonna pay all the bills and da, 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 you don't think oppression, you don't really think uh bondage, you don't think control, you don't think like that. Ultimately, I mean, maybe some of you do, but ultimately you're thinking about, when I hear that, first thing kind of hit my mind is, oh, leave it to Beaver. Because I've actually used that narrative before. I'm thinking leave it to Beaver, and the mom's hair was done perfect. She was wearing pearls. She was wearing her nice clothes, and her apron to keep her clothes clean. She walked around in heels in the house all day. She looked together. Ward Cleaver, the husband, was out, had a good job. They were living in a nice community, nice schools, nice white picket fence. That's what you think of when you think of traditional. A lot of times, so that's the picture that the media paints. I don't have any other description of the life of Leave It to Beaver. She really had no worries. She didn't have any issues. I mean, she only had two kids, you know what I'm saying? But okay, see, that's what the media depicts, and that's what they show you, and that's, it's hard, it's so hard a lot of times to get things out of your subconscious because that's the picture that's painted. That's a lot of us, especially who were, born uh looking at those type of TV shows. That's what you saw all over media with the black family. Like, um really, black people really didn't get a sense of like family, community, all that kind of stuff on TV until like Good Times and Sanford and Son and stuff like that. And it was never white picket fence, husband going to work, taking care of everything. Oh, then you got the Brady Bunch. Look at Carol. Carol was, now she did a little bit more like getting out and going places and doing things like that, but still she was a traditional mom, stayed at home. The kids were older, so those kids really kind of took care of themselves. Carol wasn't around, taking care of babies and changing diapers and all that kind of stuff. She was still living a fairly decent life. Them kids were basically preteens to teenagers. Cindy and Mike were the youngest, and they were what, 8, 9, 10, or something, maybe. I don't know how old they were when the show started, but still, they were self sufficient. Now, I correlate that to, when I think about, I look at the color purple. Look at that traditional for Black people, for us, for Black women. At the end of the day, most of our lives, just in the Black community, living, growing up as Black women, we didn't have that, and we still really don't have that traditional viewpoint to live by. We do have more of a poor Pookie and Ray Ray, dude on the corner, people hanging out, noisy neighbors, loud ass children, you know, um, not a whole lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Mike was an architect on the Brady Bunch, so Mike was bringing in money. I don't remember what Ward was doing, but for whatever he was doing, he was making some good money and had his family in a nice neighborhood. They were dressing nice, going to a nice school, doing activities and things like that. Life with Pookie and Ray Ray and Tyrone is not like that when they talk about traditional. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking the color purple. Loud, bad, illegitimate kids who ain't your kids, that you taking care of. Um, Messy, dirty house that they lived in, that she had to clean that whole. Remember when she walked in there? When Celie first walked in there as a little girl and she looked at her house, that baby's mouth was open like, oh my God, I gotta clean all this. That is the picture that would be the life of just the average Black person, woman. And I'm not talking about, you know, some Black family that got money like the Huxtables and everything. I'm painting a narrative of a life with Pookie and Ray Ray and so forth. Now, because Pookie and Ray Ray and Tyrone have been taught by their uncles and dads and everything, more than likely toxic ass behavior like what Mister's dad taught him, and like what we see going on in podcasts and everything today, we're not hearing anything uplifting. We're not hearing anything really beneficial. We're not hearing these men talk about how to take care of your wife gently. We're not hearing them talk about telling your wife she's beautiful, uplifting her, taking care of the kids sometime, having date nights, um, buying her things, giving her things. No, you hear, if it ain't 50-50, you hear that one of the main reasons that I hear that a lot of these men want traditional wives, except to, basically make them a slave and a servant, and control her life, um, is so that they will have the control, they will have the she'll have to come to them for everything, and teaching them, like on these podcasts, how, like I said, to be this big alpha male in your house. Not teaching them, as I said, anything productive, anything sweet, nice, soft, whatever. They're teaching them how to be mean, how to belittle her, how to hurt her, how to make her feel bad. When I think about the teachings of Kevin Samuels, the teachings of people like Tommy Sotomayor, the teachings of Red Pill and things like that. And what you hear going on these podcasts and things, I don't hear, I hear talk about her, talk about her makeup. I hear talk about her hair, her weave. I hear talk about her natural hair. She nappy headed. I hear about hair hats. I hear you're dressed too provocative. You dress like this, and you need to take that off. And a man should be able to tell his wife how to wear her. Once again, control. You don't have no mind of your own. Celie had no mind of her own. That man was controlling everything. She didn't have a thought. It was all him. And this is what I see from these podcasters, the way that they want you to be. They're breaking, instead of doing it in a one-on-one relationship, they're doing it to a vast majority of women on social media. It's pointed at Black women, and it's for you to be beaten down. It's for you to feel like nothing. It's for you to cry. It's for you to be miserable. It's for you to hurt. It's for you to feel like you have no options and no choice but to be with them. It has to do with showing you that we don't care about your degrees. We don't care about, you going to school and all that. Usually an abusive man, one of the biggest ways that they start abusing is not letting you advance. You can't go to school. You can't have no job. Thinking of the future and your life and what you would like to do for yourself. Mm, no, for what? You finna be my wife. You don't gotta go to work. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to know nothing. Even though that may be your heart's desire. That's what you want to do. Celie couldn't read. Her sister could read because her sister went to school. Her sister was teaching her, if you remember. She was illiterate. And that is how they want you. They want you to feel, because you're gonna feel dumb, you're gonna feel down, you're gonna feel like you ain't nothing. And I mean, eventually, all of that pounding that you ain't nothing, you ugly, you black, your nose too big, your lips too big, your hair too nappy. You just stay here and serve me and have babies and cook and clean. Da, da, da. You ain't gonna get no self-esteem from that. It's like I said, the same. Um, it is the same behavior that we see going on social media. There are some Black men who are on there, of course, uplifting Black women and all this kind of stuff. But the vast majority of what we hear is you're ugly, you ain't nothing, don't nobody want you, you're the least desired, just on and on and on and on and on. And we've been hearing this for years now. It is like I said, it's not like you're doing it, your husband's doing it to you in your house. Like, this is social media, and they are doing it on a wide vast scale. Like, we in a whole relationship with all of these abusive as men. That is how it is. Like, that's almost what is going on. It's happening on a big mass stage, that they're doing the destructive abusive things to all Black women. So that is how Mr. ruled his house. That's how he hurt Celie. That's how he abused her, called her ugly, brought other women in. That's another big thing, like I say, that we saw, or that we see, is a lot of these men feel like when they are paying all the bills, they have the right to cheat. They have the right to sleep with whoever they want to. When you start hearing about traditional and the man paying all the bills, somewhere within that 3 to 5, 6 minute talking about that, they're going to start talking about having the ability to cheat and be with other women. Not really sure how that correlates, but in their minds it does. And that's what you're going to hear. So it's nothing to be desired especially for a Black woman, to be in a traditional relationship, to want him to pay all the bills. And like, they say that as if it's some type of a reward, like if it's some type of a good thing. Um, Now I'm not gonna go too much, talking about me. This video is not about me. I'm a Black woman, of course, but I'm gonna use a little bit of my experiences in my long-term relationships and marriage. My first husband, disclaimer, it's not really a disclaimer, but this is not to bash him really at all, because I would have to explain the situation, but he ultimately really is a good guy. He really is. We just were not, but he's a good man with a good heart. He's been remarried to the same woman for many years now. And so when I say this, I'm not saying this to bash him, but because we were very young. I'm talking about uh, very young. um, he was 18, I was 20. Despite the getting together and all of that kind of stuff, ultimately, um, he wanted to work and for me not to work. Now he met me working. I'm just going, okay, in all of my relationships, long-term relationships, they met me working. I was always working. But then it became, oh, take care of me. Just stay at home, whatever. Ultimately, what happened with that, it lasted for a little bit, but ultimately what happened with that is that it became too much for him. Just at the end of the day, it became too much. He couldn't take care of all those bills and things like that for on his own. And so he began to resent me. He began to, basically, I remember one day in the car, he just basically told, well, you got to go to work. You got to get, you got to get them to go to work. I can't do it. And first of all, like I was offended with him saying it, not about me going to work, because I preferred going to work. You met me working, but I was offended with the way that he said it, like I was a burden on him, and like it was my choice to stay home and everything. And my thing was just like, I don't have no problem going to work. Like I could have been working. You didn't want me to go to work. Um, and so that's kind of how that played out. With my last long-term relationship, once again, don't work, don't go to work, just stay at home, take care of me. First of all, I'll never do anything like that again, ever in my life. I'm not ever getting married again. But I did it again. And this one was more so of, me taking care of him physically because he was very sick. Did not know that when I got with him. He had a lot of ailments and sicknesses and things that he just kind of revealed over time. I did not know that how sick he was. He was very sick man. And then he got even more sick as the marriage progressed, you know. So uh it didn't it, those situations for me, staying at home, didn't work well for me, because it was that, especially in my first marriage, it was that, I really didn't have anything. I didn't have any resources. I didn't have any, and I mean, hindsight is 2020. Maybe I should have learned my lesson then, the first time, but I didn't. And I got myself back in the same situation to where I'm basically at their mercy. No bank account, no money, really no transportation, no, and at the end of all of that, I found myself having to pick myself back up, um, regroup, uh, get a job, start my life over again. Now, I'm very thankful for the line of work that I do. I'm very thankful for it because it is always hiring and it is never it's never full, in healthcare. So I always got a job. I have always had a job. Like I've always had access to having a job. Like I've never gone anywhere to get a job in healthcare and not been able to get the job. Like it just is what it is. They're always hiring, they always need people, whatever. So that was a benefit for me because it allowed me not to have to wait months and months and months to like really get on my feet. I was able to go to work and in a couple of weeks I got a check or whatever. And so I was able to recover pretty quickly, fairly quickly. I was able to fairly I was able to recover fairly quickly because of the line of work that I'm in. But I said all that to say I don't advise that. And I'm not saying that all men do that or whatever. There are situations where a situation like that may work out and where, it turns out to be a good thing financially and just every other way. Now, in case y'all wondering, no, I didn't get the abusive stuff. I've never been hit and cussed out and talked too crazy and all. Like I never really had all that. My daughter's father was a little. He was more verbally, if you want to say that, but not really. Like he didn't curse me out. I don't know. My situations have been weird, but I'm still grateful because they weren't that controlling like that. You know what I'm saying? And so, but that's not the case all the time. A lot of times those situations are horrific for women. So anyway, guys, I don't want to just continue on, but I wanted to bring that those correlations of the fear of the manipulation of what they call manhood and running your house and how the dad taught Mr. how to be. That's the same thing that we see going on today. Them teaching these young men how to be a man, an alpha male, whatever. That's how alpha males run their house. Nothing desirable about that. Um, he left a legacy, him and his dad left a legacy of abuse, hurt, depravity, just a horrible legacy. Like, who would want to be married to that? Then we go to Harpo. Let me get on Harpo just a little bit because Harpo, we can see, first of all, was a coward. He was just like Mr. Like Mr. talked to him and tried to teach him and show him stuff same way his daddy did, and it was toxic and it was horrible. It wasn't good advice for the woman. And that same teaching, that same toxic teaching, only he met his match with what was Oprah Winfrey name? It was right on the tip of my tongue. Ophelia, I think. But he met his match with her. She wasn't finna let you put your hands on her. She wasn't finna more than likely sit around with no house full of babies and stuff like that. Just like she told him in the beginning, she was like, yeah, because the father was like, you just after my son money. You just want my son to take care of you and your baby and da da da. Same bullshit we hear today. And she just like, your son ain't got no money. Your son ain't got nothing. Like your son, like what does your son have to offer me? Like I can go home to my parents. Like I can take care of my own child. Like I don't need your son. You know what I'm saying? And so he definitely met his match with uh Ophelia, I think. Y'all please correct me in the comments. I think that was her name. Um But yeah, she wasn't that kind of woman. You wasn't gonna be able to do her like he did Celie. And men don't like women like that. They don't like strong women who you not gonna put your hands on me. I really don't need you, whatever. They don't like that. You see how they talk down about women's education, women's independence, and all these things on these podcasts. You know, they're trying to keep women in a down, degraded, beat up, low, don't feel good about yourself at all, feel like you ain't got no choice, no options, don't nobody want you, ain't no man going, you ain't gonna never find no another man like me. All they want to keep you there and in that position as Black women as a whole. They want all of us to feel that way so that we can continue to put up with them, put up with their cheating, put up with their lying, put up with their degeneracy, put up with their not going to work, put up with them staying in your house, living off of you, that type of thing. And that's the Pookie, Ray Ray, Tyrone mentality. Hanging out with their friends, doing whatever they want. Don't come home all night long or come home when they want to. And, you don't say nothing to me wrong about my whereabouts. And you don't, I'm the man. But that's how they want you. And that's not love. That's not marriage. It's not a relationship. It's not good for anybody. You would do much better staying single and just doing whatever it is that you do for yourself in your life. And like I say, that is the narrative that I see being pushed. So the Leave It to Beaver, the whole nice traditional, I'm gonna pay all the bills and take care of you. Don't think Leave It to Beaver. Don't think what is that? Don't think Carol and Mike Brady, the Brady Bunch. Don't even think, I'm going way back with these shows, y'all. Don't even think the Partridge Family. Remember that? Remember that show? Her with all them kids and they live this, middle class lifestyle and don't think about all that stuff. Think about Color Purple. That is your good times. And I'm not saying that as a Black woman or whatever, that's like where you have to be, uh, like what that is going to necessarily be your fate. I'm talking about that's going to be the fate of trying to do it with a Pookie and a Ray Ray and a Tyrone. That's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. More than likely, you could live a way better life. Most women live a way better life single than they do tied up to a selfish, controlling, cheating, lying, manipulative, abusive man. You live a much better life. You're free. You're able to do a whole lot more. A lot of times the kid, if you have kids in that type of situation, a lot of times the kids are happier. It's just a whole it's just a better situation all the way around. So I don't know. That was what was in my head. I just wanted to bring that out. I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to show the correlation of these three generations of degenerate men and degenerate teaching and degenerate of how they run their house and what they feel like it is to be a man and what we see out here being spread on these podcasts and you know don't want to pay no bills, don't really want, and now, what's even worse than all that, than, one a traditional wife or whatever, because most of these guys they can't financially afford that. They really have no idea. Most of them, when you hear them say stuff about, paying all the bills and all that, a lot of times it's a what is the word I'm looking for? It's like they bring up a for instance. Well, if I was a man and I'm making $100,000 a month or a year, and if I'm a man and I'm making 155, and if I'm a man, I'm taking care of all the bills and I'm making six figures. Da, da, da. And it's always like a what if most of the time, because most of them do not have the funds, the careers, the credit, the any of that to be able to really take care of a wife and a family and everything. And that is the other part of this that is so important. They keep talking about wanting a traditional wife or whatever, not realizing a traditional wife doesn't work. This 50 fit, that's not no traditional, that's something whole new that y'all done made up and created. That's not a traditional wife. A traditional wife stays at home and is taken care of. So that means you got to get up and go to work, not for a year, not for 2 years, not for on and off. You got to be a traditional at home wife. So that means you got to be a traditional husband that goes out, makes a living, takes care of the children, takes care of the house, take care of the activity. Like, it is so much to running a house and to taking care of a family than these men really could ever imagine. Like I say, I don't know what Ward Cleaver did, but he must have had a pretty good job living that nice community with kids in a nice school, take care of his wife. Um, like we say, Mike was an architect. Mike had the money at that time to take care of what, 6 kids and a wife. They had a maid. They lived in a nice, I mean, like, you got to have money. And just on a whole, they don't have the money to take care of that, which is why they're always just going from the what if or the for instance type category because they don't have it to begin with. And usually we wind up fighting against what ifs. Like half of that stuff ain't gonna never even happen. And most of them are so selfish that they want to hang out with their boys. They want to play PlayStation. They want to, hang out with other dudes all day, even if they married and got families and whatever. They're not most of the time trying to spend time with a family, going on vacations and taking trips and doing things like that. They're trying to hang out with their boys. That's the mentality. And so they not really worried about working and having the provisions to do what it takes to take care of a family. They just want to go have fun with their friends. They just want to, and once again, I'm talking about a mentality, a mindset. So this is what we see. And this is the reality of it. And this is why when they continue to compare themselves with, 6 figures and what if I had this and what, I mean, you can't live a life off of what if. So ladies, at the end of the day, as I close this video, the best thing for you to do is have some money. Always have some money. I'm not telling you not to get married. I'm not telling you, not to be in relation. I'm not telling you any of that. What I'm telling you is always have your own. Don't put your, if you want to put your own with him and his and bank account, whatever. If I was you, I would always have my own somewhere else, somewhere where he don't know about it, some place where he don't have any access to, or just whatever. Because when he feel like being pookie-ish and he got access to your stuff and your money, oh, believe me, he gonna be just like Wendy Williams' husband out here asking for support. And it's amazing how so many times they um, like to put that on women. Well, they're going to take all my money and I ain't going to have this. Da, 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 da. Once again, that's a fantasy of the money they may have or potentially may have, their expectation of money that they never usually get anyway. But yeah, this is what they're living off of. This is how they're living. And you're supposed to go along with the fantasy. You're supposed to go along with the what if and go from there and marry their potential and be with their potential. That's not life. That's not real life. And like I say, ladies, you can live more than likely a much better life single and by yourself than getting caught up in a Pookie, Ray Ray, Tyrone, uh, Mr. Harpo, the dad type situation dealing with degeneracy. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. Please subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you'll know whenever I upload a video. Um, Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Please let me give me a comment on, what you think of what I said. Am I right? Am I wrong? Do you have another opinion? The correlation between, that white upscale 1950s type whatever and the type of life that Pookie and Ray Ray gonna provide. So you guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until the next video, we'll see you next time.